Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
Uh-oh. It's another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Bill. Hello,
Yet
everybody.
again, here you are, 370 podcasts later, doing your thing.
I have a history of being very stubbornly stuck in any group I start with. I never quit. I'm always there. I don't know if it's good or if it's bad. Here we go.
There you go.
But why'd you say uh-oh?
Because we're on episode number 370, and here is the title of today's episode.
Okay, now it's uh-oh.
Realtors beware. They aren't going to like this new creative strategy. Uh-oh.
Oh, now I see. Oh, boy.
Here is the description. What if you could take all of your dead leads and other investors' dead leads and turn them into gargantuan profits? You know, those properties where the seller wanted all cash and often more than it is worth? What I am talking about is a new actionable strategy that novice or pro can learn and use in less time than it takes to eat Thanksgiving dinner. And once it gets out, it is going to be much like an earthquake, shocking or sweeping across the lands, causing havoc. Plus, we will leave many in our dust if they don't get this information quickly. No more are the days, Peter, of a seller telling you they want all cash and you hang up with nothing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Now we look for these sellers and give them offers they feel stupid saying no to. Can you even imagine doing this? Well, today we plan to peel the curtain back and let you get backstage and really see what an elite bunch of creative entrepreneurs are doing to crush it with profits today. So, if you are ready to catapult into way more deals and profit, we are ready to reveal this tightly guarded new real estate strategy, and you can't afford to miss it. So make sure you stay for the whole time we're together today, because right up until the end, I plan on dropping bombshells. There you go. Peter's quiet. I stunned him.
No, I'm pretty sure I know what we're talking about, but I'm just going to let you go with it.
Okay. So let's do our housekeeping stuff. So first of all, thank you for being here. wherever you are watching us or listening to us, make sure you subscribe. I apologize for my throat. I've been doing this all morning. I have no idea why, but it keeps. I don't know. It's kind of weird. So thank you for watching us or listening to us. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like or dislike us, whatever your feeling is. Leave us a review if you can. That's our report card. When we find them, because there are some platforms we don't even know you're watching us on, and we don't even know about them, and then I find them later on, and I find all your reviews. So thank you for all that. Also, we record every Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We live stream it. I switched it up, Peter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're live streaming it to Facebook and YouTube as always. I was live streaming it to Twitter, but Twitter doesn't seem to like us, I guess, because I don't ever get any response from Twitter. So we are now live streaming to LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
So it's YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn now. So if you're on LinkedIn, you can go check us out. In any event, if you are watching us on one of those platforms, there's a place for you to be able to type in comments or your questions. I get them during the live podcast. So if you have a question about the podcast, just go ahead and type in a question. And as long as it's about the podcast, I'll take it up. If it's not about the podcast and some other creative real estate question, I will gladly answer it. But you need to go to Flipping Houses for Rookies and go to the support ticket on the top right-hand side and send me a support ticket, and I will answer them. Or if it's a question for Peter, I will forward it to Peter. He will answer it, and I'll send it back to you. Okay? Mm-hmm. Also, I have a WhatsApp messenger group called Let's Talk Real Estate. So, and soon to be, which I am working on, I am fairly certain that I will probably by next week, definitely by the week after, have a new private Facebook page that I'll be answering questions in. I'm kind of toying with the idea of instead of doing the podcast platform, doing a private Facebook page and recording everything behind a private page, but have more information, like coaching type information.
Oh.
So we're working on that. It's not in stone yet. I have to get with my team and make sure that I can do that. So anyways, there's all the housekeeping stuff. I'm sorry to take so long, but we need to do that because we're self-funded. We have no advertising in this, so that couple minutes you got to listen to it is like watching advertising. So, all right, Pete. Mm-hmm. I have some bold promises in today's description, so let's just dive right in. What do you think?
You do, very much so. Let her rip.
So, if you are a regular listener, you should know by now that creative real estate is all about what controls real estate, aka the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not like the realtor system that pays attention to the real estate alone, right? Only because by default it has to, I can't read my writing here. That system is, oh, I see what I'm saying. So only because that system is expecting you to replace the money in the deal.
Right, new money. So, yeah, if there was money on the property, that goes away and you put new money on it. Go to the bank, unless you have like Mr. Got Bucks cash in your pocket. But you have to get new money in. That's a good way to look at it. Starts all over, fresh. Another beginning to the 30-year mortgage with very, very, very little principal being paid and lots and lots of interest to the bank.
But to my point is that all that is correct. But to my point right now is that because the bank is using the property for collateral, they have their own system or opinions. I call it opinions. They would not say that. They would say it's extrapolated data. Extrapolating meaning that they have past data that will tell them what to do in the future, right? So they're extrapolating. They're pulling the past data forward with new data, right? So they have extrapolated data they feel is important to safeguard their money. Because at the end of the day, bankers are conservative, pompous asses. Okay? They think their money is worth more than everybody else's money. They think they have all the money and nobody else has any. And they have this system, just like the realtors, they have a system that nobody else has. Right? Which is false data, completely not true, and only that way if you're a banker and in that world. They definitely live off of the axiom or maxim, meaning the basic law, natural law, that the person with the gold makes the rules. They live off of that. So now that I've bashed the bankers and the realtors, okay, the reason why I do that is because it's not fair what they're doing. Yeah. Because if a banker says that your house is worth $180,000 and you've got comps that say that it's worth $225,000, plenty of comps, you practically got to part the clouds or part the Red Sea, right? Just like, what was it, Moses that did that, right?
Yeah.
to get them to understand because they think they are right. And because it's their money, they'll just say, we don't think so, we're not lending the money.
Yeah.
The guy with the gold makes the rules. So the point in belaboring this right now is that the property itself is the pinnacle or the epicenter of exactly how you're going to get the money.
Yep.
Epicenter means the center of, or the focal point of where you're going to get the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything revolves around the actual property, the money. It's like the fulcrum in a seesaw.
So, right. So what happens is if the bank feels the evaluation of the property is not correct, they won't lend.
Mm-hmm.
If they feel like the economy is moving too fast, aka inflation, they raise their interest rates to slow it.
Yeah.
Right? Which, by the way, is the stupidest frickin' thing I ever heard on planet Earth. It irks me. If I ever wanted to be a politician, which I never do, that would be the thing I would push the hardest.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you're saying. It's horrible.
Inflation means too much money, not enough products. Right?
Yeah.
In other words, you have 20 buyers trying to buy one house, the price goes up.
Mm-hmm.
That's inflation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when our government has things like COVID and they put $10 trillion they printed with their printing presses and put it in the system, of course we're going to have inflation.
Yeah.
Because now something that should cost $1 costs $3 only because there's $3 to use to buy it.
Right. The annoying thing to me is the way they want to fix it is restrict the money. Well, it's a two-sided equation, right? How about turning around and increasing production?
Right.
More goods, more eggs. You know, get those chickens laying eggs more. They take the chicken shit way out. You know, it's like,
Right.
well, like a dumbass, like, oh, I need food. I'll just put it on my credit card. No, go get a job. Go get a second job. Go work harder. It's the easy way out. But then it pinches us. It makes things worse.
To your point, Peter, that's good, and we're diverting, and we're going to get back in 1 second. I heard something yesterday that made me probably the proudest I've been in years.
Oh, really?
Maybe a decade or two.
Proud. Yeah.
The proudest I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
My 31-year-old daughter told me yesterday, yeah, we're out of money again. It's been really hard. And she goes on a rant about how she went to the grocery store and spent $90 for one bag of grocery and didn't buy any meat.
Ooh.
One bag of grocery.
Ooh.
She's got two young kids, 5 and 3,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, 90. Ow.
So here's what happened. She said to me, but that's okay, Dad. I've listened to what you told me all these years, and she's taken advice that I don't give myself. She says, I talked to my husband, and I know that it's really hard, but we should be proud of ourselves because we don't have any credit cards.
Wow.
We are a all-cash family.
Holy moly.
So, yeah, we run out of money, and, yeah, things get tight, and, yeah, we got to do it, but we don't have credit cards.
Yeah. Good.
So that's a proud moment for me.
Yeah, not taking the easy way out. Like, fix the problem, don't avoid it. Print more money, put on your credit card, just, increase interest rates. That's just the easy way out, and it doesn't solve the actual problem.
When they were children, I was divorced and they lived with their mom, right? And when they would come to the house, which was usually once a week, because in the beginning that's all she allowed, right? I would force them to play Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Cash Flow Quadrant.
The board game.
The board game. And now, all these years later, decades later, I hear her say something like that, and I think to myself when I hang the phone up, damn.
Nice job.
What a subconscious mind could do, huh?
Well, you get used to it. It just sits there. You don't think where it came from. You just kind of know it should be this way. Good for you.
All right, so off with the bankers, off with the realtors. I want you to know that the reason why I make this statement so loudly, so very loudly, to as many people as I will listen to me, because it is a total staple for our lives if you're on Bill's planet, meaning creative real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate is made to take money out of it, not put money into it, if you know how. Right? See, the seller already has money needed to own the property there already.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said earlier. And most sellers are vastly, really, really uneducated on how much it will cost them to sell their house and get their equity or profit out of the property. Mm-hmm. They have no idea, right? I call this discounted cash. That's what I call it. Mm-hmm. Discounted cash. It's kind of like having a retirement fund, like an IRA.
Yeah.
And cashing it out before you're supposed to.
Oh.
Like you have a Roth and you say 59 and a half, you can cash it out. Well, if you cash it out at age 50, what happens?
Yeah, penalties.
You have penalties, and it's a discounted cash amount, right?
Yeah.
It's less money than you should receive. It's your money. You earned it. Even if it's interest, you earned it. You put the money there. You allowed it to work. You isolated those funds to just make interest. And then you lose it. This is exactly what happens in the realtor system, and people don't understand it. They spend months and years paying monthly payments, working hard, sacrificing very many times, like my daughter's talking about, sacrificing, not doing things they want to do to make sure that damn mortgage is paid.
Yep.
And then they decide they want to sell. They go to the realtor system, and it costs them between 12 and 15% of their equity to get the cash that they want or need out of it. Mm-hmm. To pay all of the professionals.
Yep.
The realtor, the banker, the insurance guy, the title guy, right? The inspector.
The lawyer.
The closing agent, right? All the professionals have their hand out. And here's the most confounded, backwards, confusing, most ridiculous datum on planet Earth in real estate. People hire a realtor and they think they're going to guide them through the transaction. They think they're going to consult them and tell them things they don't know. To find out that a vast majority of realtors don't know themselves. Because they do 1 or 2 deals a year, not the 30 or 40 or 50 or 70 like one of our realtors does.
Yeah.
A year. And the only reason why realtors consult you through the whole process is because they know if they don't get their money, if they don't close, they don't get paid. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is there is not a school, there is not a book, there is not a certification that shows you how to go through the process of selling a house on planet Earth as of this recording. There is not anything like it. There are some people's opinions of how it should be done. There are some ideas of how it should be done, but there is absolutely no standardization at all. Even the realtor system is not standard. Because if you go from MLS system to MLS system or state to state, regulations change.
Yeah.
And proof of that is that you have some states that are escrow states and some states that aren't. Escrow meaning there's a third party that's holding money on a temporary basis until the closing happens. Each state has different laws on how to handle that money and what you can and can't do with that money while you're holding it temporarily, aka the deposit. So real estate is one of the biggest things we have on planet Earth, one of our biggest business, which is right behind, by the way, the government lending money for real estate. That's the largest. Actually, the largest is lending kids college money.
That's even more now, huh?
That's high. That's number one. And then the number two biggest business is lending the money. And number three biggest business is the actual real estate transactions themselves. Right? Mm-hmm. The largest business in America on planet Earth, and we do not have a standard system where you can say step 1, step 2, step 3, and actually go study it, understand it, and everybody does it the same. I mean, Jesus Christ. I went yesterday because my grandson was here. I went yesterday to get him a Happy Meal. First of all, I needed to take out a freaking loan to buy it. But most importantly, I showed up thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be here forever, because there were cars all the way out to the street. I sat in a line that had at least 25 cars in front of me.
Whoa.
And a McDonald's drive-thru. There was a double drive-thru. And I kid you not, Peter, if I wasn't there more than 7 minutes, I wasn't there a second. Huh. Now, if frickin' McDonald's can figure out how to do that, how come we can't figure out how to do real estate?
Right. It's probably uniform the entire country. You know what? One of our friends, Jay, who's trained as a doctor, says, you ever notice that hamburgers taste exactly the same all over the country? And meat is not exactly the same where you buy it. So there's stuff in it that they put so it tastes. So they make it taste exactly the same all over the country. Come on.
Right.
Yipes.
So sorry for the rant, but it is true. So the realtor system is good. It sufficed for a very long time, but it was a temporary thing. It's only been on board for the last 50 or 70 years. For hundreds of years prior to that, we did real estate the way creative real estate is done with us anyways, with most today. Okay?
Yep.
Creative real estate is the ability to take the seller's money that's in the property and leverage it and show them how they can turn it into gargantuan profits if you know how to do that. Right?
Yeah.
It is also a way that the seller and the investor can leverage that money so everybody wins, including the buyer and the seller and the investor. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not a greedy system where the bank actually has policy, because I've seen this in American National Bank. Yeah. They actually have policy, right? They're trying to get all the equity out of the real estate. Mm. They want to lend on all the equity.
Yep.
Okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with all this. Business is business. It is America, but it doesn't mean that we have to fall into that trap.
Right.
So in a long story and in a big rant here, and I apologize for that, but I think you get the point. Creative real estate is the documentation that controls the real estate. The realtor system is all about the physical property itself, on whether it's worth lending on or not lending on. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole different thing. So technically we are buying and selling paper. They're buying and selling property. Mm-hmm. So a lot of what we do in creative real estate is to show our sellers how much it costs them to sell for all cash.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? And you're aware of this evolution because you've been with me for quite a while now. And we found out that if you provide value to your seller at no extra cost, in excess of what the rest of the marketplace is doing, everyone wins, and your effort is rewarded. But this value is something the seller has to believe they can benefit from. Mm. And their accountant and attorney will agree. You have, when you do it the way I'm going to show you today, you've built trust and stood out from the crowd. Is this making sense?
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem is that the sellers don't really understand the potential. They don't realize how much it really costs most of the time, and they don't realize the potential of what you're about to unleash here. So it's kind of explaining to somebody, no, this is a happy meal. You bring your kid here and you give it to him. It's only hamburger and thing and a little toy, but he'll think you're the best grandpa in the world. Right. And you have to figure that out. And they don't realize.
Both my grandchildren for an hour yesterday played with that stupid toy that was in that box. I don't even know what it was, but the two of them played with it.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I was going to say something I forgot. All right. So this type of impact will automatically create an effect that no one else interested in the property will give. Mm-hmm. This value thing. Mm-hmm. Right? But most important, it will transform your offers into an only one type of scenario. Mm-hmm. Which means the seller's decision between your offer is basically up against nothing. There's nothing to compare it to because it is so outlandish and so unbelievable and so fantastic. Other people will look at the offer and say, how the hell are they doing that?
And probably not believe it at first.
Right. It's so unique and so good they can't find it anywhere else. Mm-hmm. They can't find it with realtors. They can't find it with other investors. The neighbor. The neighbor? How many houses I've lost from the neighbor? Well, my neighbor found out that you were paying $125 and they said they'd give me $130.
Oh, the neighbor. Ouch.
The neighbor. Phew. I've lost a lot of deals to the neighbor. And any other high-paying offer, or anybody else, they can't compare to these offers. And that builds value for you quickly. But the moment your exchange or your offer dips, the seller feels there's a discrepancy. Value has stopped. Mm. And they cease to listen to you or participate any longer. Then tell you whatever you want them, or whatever they think they want you to hear. So they get off the phone and they just ghost you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to stop here for a second because we have a couple minutes. And I know this is not part of today's agenda, but I will tell you what I just read to you is probably the core reason why many people do not make enough deals. Okay? Because the exchange value that the seller is receiving isn't enough to keep their interest. Mm. In other words, they aren't getting anything from the conversation. They feel like it's a sales pitch.
Yep.
Like I had coaching clients that were slick as hell on the phones.
Yeah.
But they sound slick.
Yeah.
Because a slick salesman, you're wondering what bonus is he getting or what benefit is he getting to push me into this product? AKA a used car salesman. You walk in and you walk in because you want a Subaru, and next thing you know, he's showing you a Toyota pickup truck. Mm-hmm. And it's probably because that pickup truck's been on the lot for 6 months and he gets a special bonus if he sells it to you.
Right.
So he's not interested in you and what you want. He's more interested in him and what he wants. Mm-hmm. Right? So if the exchange is not in, if you're not in the seller's shoes, receiving your communication, feeling like you're building value to your conversation, you will lose them. Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I just got a new client in my other business from 4 or 5 cities that a ways. He picked me out of all kinds of people between me and here. And when he came, I said, "Why'd you pick me?" He says, "Well, the other people just responded to my query like time, money, how much, schedule, end of story. And you, meaning me, like actually listened to what I said and said something that I wanted to hear. Like you heard what I was saying. You were talking to me. So I drove all the way to I said, Jesus, I didn't even know I was doing that. But it fits everything you do. And geez, for the love of God, we need to do that when we're talking to a seller. He needs to feel like you're talking to him and listening, finding out what he needs. And if it's money, what we're talking about today, value-wise, you can blow his socks off.
Right.
Even that.
Right.
But you have to
So
listen.
I remember being a young man, and one of the things that I learned is how to negotiate. The negotiation staple for me is the person that wants it the least has the most power.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if and most of my clients come across needy.
Yeah.
They need to have this deal. Like I have a guy right now that's actually in another coaching group, but he listens to me quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing fine, and all of a sudden, he's got a job now, and he's like needy. He's needy talking to me. I can't imagine what he sounds like when he's talking to a seller.
Oh no.
That leaks through because when your seller feels needy, there's one thing that I learned about sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more you chase them, the faster they run.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? So the trick is to give an offer that's so good the seller would feel stupid or very foolish to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And this offer is actually easy to do.
Yep.
Now I say that very reluctantly because it's taken me 30 years to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
What? What do we got
Speak of
here?
the devil. Kenneth says, "Thank you, Beaten Pill. Nobody talks like this." I don't know if that's good or bad, Kenneth, but thank you for the compliment.
Well, we fooled him at least.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, it's true though. I think it's even worse in the sense of when somebody starts. I've said it before, but it bears repeating before somebody can get it through the thick skull. When you start a business like this, you're thinking, how much money can I make? How much money can I make? You got to be thinking, how can I help the seller? Somebody you don't even know or care about. You're supposed to care and know about them, and you don't. You have to cross a bridge.
I just started reading a book in the first chapter. I've only read about 4 pages because it was late last night when I was reading it.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't really be reading it. I have a bad habit of reading a couple books at a time.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 or 3. Like in the morning I'll read one, in the afternoon I'll read another one, and at night I read another one.
Uh-huh.
I really shouldn't do that, but I have so many books that I want to read that I feel like that's my solution.
You're on a scavenger hunt there.
Yeah. And this book, he got my attention right away because he's like, what is money about? Well, why money? And the connotation is money's about how many people you've helped, how much value you've provided for other people. That's what attracts money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that was, I read that after I wrote this podcast. Obviously, I have some knowledge of that, right? Mm-hmm. But I used to call this, what we're going to do right now, I used to call this the cold ice water dip.
Okay.
In other words, you need to shock the seller. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So this offer that I'm talking about, which is actually easy to do, it's easy because it's just math. But it's a special kind of math.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean is it's called comparison type math.
Mm.
The math itself is not special. It's just addition and subtraction, which is very, very basic, very simple. Anybody can do, right? In other words, I've done this for years and never recognized it, and now I'm embellishing upon it, and I'm like amazed at how many people don't know it. Excuse me. I'm just amazed. I just thought that everybody knew this, and I'm like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's kind of and you see behind the scenes. It's kind of by accident that this is happening. The way this is unfolding.
You know, it's like discovering gravity. It's there all the time, so you don't even notice it. It's like air.
Right.
There's people in the world, I'm sure, you would have to try to convince that there's something in the air. Oxygen, they could, no, there's nothing there.
Right.
So you can't see it. It's right in front of your face. Yeah. Because you sneezed.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So it's a comparison type deal, and what the magic of the math is you use one set of numbers against another set of numbers, showing the seller similarities and dissimilarities between selling a house for all cash or by taking monthly payments or not replacing the money already in the property. So we're going to show them if they sell for all cash, how much they get.
Yep.
And if they don't sell for all cash, how much they get. And we put the numbers side by side and let them look at them. So the comparison is of the proper magnitude. They mean something, right? I mean, my dad used to tell me, well, my godfather actually, he was 100% Indian, American Indian. And he used to have all these sayings, right? Which I thought kind of set me up because we grew up I was a hillbilly. You know, I mean, I still am to a large degree, but I don't show it as much as I used to. But in my personal life, I live very simple. I think I live simple. I'm not, I'm not big on a lot of things. I've been there, done that, tried it, didn't like it, and I'm in my later years in life, I find it's just easy to be simple, right? But he used to say, you can't appreciate the sunshine until it rains. So someone can't appreciate the cash offer until they see the other offer. Right? So when done correctly, the seller can see how to best leverage their already invested money into returns, and often it's 70% or more than the cash offer. Do you hear what I just said?
I did.
So if you're talking to a seller, right, and you could say to them, you want to sell your house for $200,000. I'm going to go over this in a minute, but you want to sell your house for $200,000, and you want all cash. What if I could give you $280,000? Would you be interested? And what are they going to say? That's an offer that they can't say no to.
They have to say, what?
Right.
Minimally, like, what? Because, on one hand, you might get guys like us offering terms, and, a decent price. I'll give you the 2 if you wait terms. Then you get the other guys, I'll give you 110 cash now. And then we come along and say something like that. It's a little shocking.
So that's the cold ice water dip. It's like, I'm going to give you $280,000 for a $200,000 property. What's the first question they're going to ask, Peter?
It's like, well, how can you do that?
There you go. They want you to explain it.
Yeah.
So now, right off the bat, you're not trying to say, will you do a terms deal? No. See, that's what I'm talking about. Remember I told you I'm going to go back and read it again. The moment your exchange or offer dips, the seller feels like there's a discrepancy. Will you do terms? Immediately, anything you can say just dipped. The exchange went out. They don't know what it means. They don't want to do it. You're spending the entire time catching up now.
You're pedaling back. I hate pedaling back.
But when you say to them, how about if I give you $280,000? They're like, how? They're giving you permission to show them how. You're not pedaling backwards anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth says, can't type fast enough. He said, wow, I'm going to get to it, Kenneth. I promise if you stick with me for a few more minutes, I'm going to give you the numbers. I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to give you an example, okay? Mm-hmm. So my point is what a difference in the conversation now, because you just built value. Your exchange is high because they want to know how they're going to get $280,000. They're immediately going to think it's a scam, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to move quick enough that they're going to be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to constantly say, I didn't know that, right? All right. You have to know this first before I get to the numbers.
Yeah.
I did not know this about myself. Honest to God, I feel like I've reinvented myself. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know how this happened other than I don't know. I've just been reading. When I get into a slump, and I'm not even saying that I was in a slump, but I wasn't in a slump. I just have decided that I'm going to expand. Mm. There are some personal things I want to do, and I just want to expand. And it's not even I don't need to. I want to. It's just something I want.
Yep.
I want to go across that bridge. You know? And if you're kind of curious to know what does that mean for me, that means that there's no reason in the world why I can't do $1 million plus per year in profit. And I'm not horribly off from that number. Mm-hmm. Right? But it's just a game. And going back to the beginning of the conversation, it's like, how many people can I help that want my help and will consider me a hero when I do help them? Those are the people I want in my life. And that's what I'm working on. It's a new level for me.
Yep.
So this is why, so I've actually hired some coaches, and I've hired, I'm reading different books that I used to not, I didn't even know existed. They're like books I never even knew existed. Right? And they're just amazing.
Are these new authors
Amazing.
then? New guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And they are not your standard Amazon type books. Okay? All right, so done correctly. Thanks, Kenneth. He said that that is amazing. Your goals sound like a great stretch. Yeah, they are realistically stretching. So, all right. So, you got to know this first before we go any further. Mm-hmm. This is a so obvious thing that you will miss it because I missed it for 30 freaking years. And if I missed it, and I'm not any better than you, there are a lot smarter people than me, I have to imagine there are a lot of other people that missed it too. Sellers are lazy or more often misinformed. Now, I knew that part. What I didn't think about, which is more important, most don't like math. And I kid you not, because I've raised about, in my lifetime, 4 or 5 kids. Mm-hmm. Right? And I thought it was just my kids. But they hit that 3rd and 4th grade, and they go from addition to subtraction. They get into, like, division, and it gets a little bit weird.
Fractions are killing them.
By the time they get into the middle school, and they're trying to do fractions, like you said, they just go, Lulu.
Nope.
Right?
Nope. I see it as a teacher. You need math and music, and they don't. A lot of them don't have it. Junior high, high school.
So most important, most don't. They don't like math, and they don't do it. Never mind in their head while you're speaking with them. So I have this assumption that my seller has $200,000 on the line, and they've done their math.
Yeah.
They know the pluses and the minuses.
No. You know, I think it's as bad as this, just personal opinion, that they have no control over it anyway. The house is going to go on the market. Whatever the price they can get is going to get. Whatever people are going to take, whatever they get, I think they're going to get what they're going to get, and there's no use even trying to work on it. Like you go to the supermarket, buy my eggs or not. You have no choice. So I don't think they even bother to think that they could even bother to try.
Right.
Whether they could or not, there's no use. So they don't even consider it. I think it's that bad. And then we come along.
Okay. I didn't realize I built flipping houses for rookies.
Mm-hmm.
I built my entire coaching program. And I've done hundreds of transactions because I explained the math to all these people. I'm doing it with you right now. You first started with me, and I remember we were in a room I rented in Westville, New Haven, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I had about 15 or 18 people show up off of a meetup group.
Yep.
And I got all done, and you were like, this is amazing. And by the second or third time we had done it, 2 or 3, because we used to do it once a month,
Mm-hmm.
you said to me, Bill, why do you start off with deal structuring? That's like up the line. It's like people need to know other things before they do the deal structuring.
Yeah, what are you
And I
deal
used to
structuring on? You don't have a house. Don't you want to find a house first and do it in sequence? Yeah, I remember I did ask you that.
And I never thought of it, and I gave you an answer. Well, that's because that's what people are interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, coming full circle, circling the wagon's back, it's why people stick to me. It's not my personality. It's not my looks. It's not the way I speak, because when I speak, I don't speak, like I have a high education. Right?
Yeah, but we can understand you better this way. Don't change.
My point is, it's because of the math, and I explain it.
Yeah.
Right? So, the simplest way, well, first of all, doing the math for sellers, students, and coaching clients is one of the biggest deal clinchers I have and use.
Mm-hmm.
Is doing the math. And not only do I do the math, but I stop and check. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Are you following?
Step by step, you got to do that.
Are you following?
Mm-hmm.
You tracking with me?
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth, thank you. I get this quite a bit. You explain things, Bill.
Yep.
He wants to know when he's going to get the book list. Ken, I've been asked that for years, and I got to tell you, Peter's been in my house. I have way too many books. I don't know. It would take me days to list them. I don't.
Yeah.
In fact, I could stop buying books right now, which I won't do. It's actually like a Gamblers Anonymous. I would need to have some book anonymous, right? I could stop right now, and there are books that I bought, that I read the first few chapters and thought that the book was like, and I didn't read it. Or there's books that I read years ago that if I reread them would have new meaning to them. I mean, they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
My wife complains about it all the time.
Yeah, well, I don't think your list of books would suit what we need at this moment. So I think the best thing is for people to search and find something that registers with them and can move them forward. Because what you read might not mean anything to us right now because you're where you are. So, there's the usual ones out there that everybody should know about, and famous ones that if you haven't read, really good starting points anyway. So read something.
Yeah. All right, so the simplest way to do this is with comparisons type math, and you all know this because this is why most of you follow me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's do some of the math, right? Would only make sense, right?
Go for it.
All right, so most sellers do not know when they don't sell for cash, they'll save money. And have 4 different profit centers.
Mm-hmm.
So the seller they'll have technically 5 profit centers. The first one is saving money on closing costs, and then the other 4 profit centers they'll have by keeping the property.
Yep.
Okay, you with me?
Yep.
So when you proceed to show the seller what these other 4 profit centers are, they go, oh. And here are the 4 profit centers.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, because what we're talking about here is we're talking about what I call a slot deal, sandwich lease option transfer, otherwise known as a lease option wholesale deal.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to get the seller to do a delayed cash out or a lease with an option to purchase. You're going to go find a buyer and assign that to them for a fee. So you're going to give the seller $100 to consummate the option agreement.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, make it legal.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go sell that lease with an option to a buyer for probably $10,000
Mm-hmm.
or $20,000 or $30,000. And when you learn how to do that, it's incredible. The reason why I have had students in the past not do as many of these deals is because they didn't know how to talk to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why we call it a Grand Slam offer. The reason why this Grand Slam offer works is because now we're adding to the system by saying to the seller, hey man, if you don't sell right now, I can save you the closing costs, and I could make you this much money with these profit centers.
Mm-hmm.
And those profit centers are monthly cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, monthly cash flow is a funny thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because money cash flow is absolutely, positively, most freaking definitely the only thing we should talk about in creative real estate right now, Peter. It is absolutely the only thing we should talk about in creative real estate. We should not talk about anything else except this. Because the seller has a 3% mortgage.
Oh.
And you're going to sell a house. You're going to sell the house. See, people think that it's a lease with an option to buy. It's backwards. No, you're giving them an option and allowing them to rent until they qualify.
Right. The only reason they get the lease is because they're going to be buying it.
Well, because they don't have the money now. So
Yeah.
they're getting the lease because they don't have the money now and they have to get qualified for the mortgage. So we're going to allow them to live in the house until they get the mortgage. But the day they move in, they are an owner. They're not a tenant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but what just struck me, the way you said it, although you've said it a few times, they can't get the lease until they promise they're going to buy it.
I spoke to a guy, we're selling a house, and it's funny you say that. I've never had this happen. I haven't had this happen in a long time. Let's put it that way. I spoke to a guy in Ohio. Sean sends me this lead. Oh my God, you got to call this guy immediately.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an $79,000 house. We just did a bunch of work. We just raised it to $89,000.
Okay.
When we had it for $79,000 and needed the work, we were barely getting any leads. Now we got it listed for $89,000. We're getting leads like every day.
Huh. Okay.
But that's something within itself. Guy's got $10,000 down. He's got a 720 credit score, right? He's got $1,000 a month. The rent is only $900 a month. It's like Sean's like, he's having an orgasm over this lead, right? I call the guy up instantly. The first 3 minutes, he's like, "Well, I don't want to buy. I just want to rent. I'm in college. I'm going to be here for 4 years, and I want to have a 4-year lease." And I said to him, "Well, we don't do that." He went silent. He goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, you need $10,000 or $9,000 to put for a down payment. And you don't get the down payment back unless you buy the house. So I'm not going to take $9,000 of your money and let you live there for 4 years and then walk away. Why would you do that? That would be stupid. I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't understand." It's exactly what you're saying. Yeah. He wanted to just lease.
Yeah.
Okay? So here's my point. Monthly cash flow, the reason why I'm on a rant right now is because if you do what we do, you don't use rentometer. You're going to rent the house. You don't use the rentometer, whatever the normal rent is in that neighborhood, as your lease amount. No. What you do is if you're selling for $200,000, you go into a mortgage calculator and put in $200,000 at 7 or 8% interest. add your taxes and your insurance, that's the new payment, because your seller is going to be at 3 or 4%, and your payment's going to be at 7%. The number's going to be higher. We have not had something like this, I think, in history, because those low interest rates have been all the way back from Obama days. So it's got to be 12 or 15 years we've had below 5% interest. So there are a lot of mortgages that are at that 3, 4, 5% interest. I saw a report this morning on the news that is scary as hell, because it was with some very smart financial people. And their prediction is, their prediction with the way things are going, we are going back to double digits numbers in interest, which, by the way, when you look at history, we've always been in that double digits, always been 10, 12%.
Bill, when I was a young man, interest was mortgages 18%, around 1980 when Reagan. I was alive. I was getting ready to buy a house, 18%. Now, it wasn't horrible when the houses were $30,000, $40,000, $50,000.
Right.
Now, when they're 200, 300, 400, 500, that's really bananas. So it makes a big difference when the numbers are that big. That's not good.
All right, so I'm going to buzz through because I just realized what time it is. We're 55 minutes in, and I still have 3 more pages of notes. So we're going to do cash flow. We're going to get the seller cash flow. We're going to get them a monthly mortgage reduction. I'm going to explain that in a minute. We're going to get them a yearly IRS reduction to lower their taxes, and appreciation value. Right? Now, what that means is that let's go back to 2, monthly mortgage reduction. The buyer is paying a rent. They're not getting principal reduction. They're not getting rent credits, nothing. So every time so technically the buyer is paying down the seller's mortgage. Every month there's a reduction. Yearly IRS reductions in taxes means, because you're not living in the house, the IRS allows you to do depreciation valuations for up to 27 and a half years. That happens to work out to be 3.64% of the property.
Right.
It's a lot of money. And then appreciation over the last 100 years, the average number has been 3% a year. Up markets, down markets, 3% a year, it appreciates. So what we do is we put in the lease, if our buyer does not cash us out within the first year, the first 12 months, after that, the price of the house goes up 0.25%, which is 3% a year. So if that tenant buyer stays in the house for 5 years, the seller is not losing the appreciation value because we add a percentage to the option. And we tell the buyer that, like, you got to go get a mortgage within the first year. Okay. So this raw math looks like this. If you had a $200,000 house, which, by the way, the average price in America, the average home price in America right now, because I Googled it the other day, is $416,000. And you even made a comment about that. I talk about this with my friends all the time.
We've been saying 200,000 for years because we're used to that. But I hate to tell you this, Bill. When you get old like us, we keep thinking of prices in the old days. Gas is what, $1 or $2? No, so like 200,000. Like, what are you guys old? It's 300, 400,000. It's just normal now. So we got to go to those numbers just to be real.
But I'm going to go with the 200,000 just because.
It's easy math. Do that. We used to use 100. Now we're up to 200. So I guess it's doubling. Go ahead.
So if the seller wanted to sell for all cash, the closing costs are 15%. So that's $30,000. That means that the seller, right, would lose in the transaction $30,000 for fees. And that's all the negotiating fees, and that's attorney fees, and that's realtor fees. And even if you don't use a realtor, you still need to spend something or a bunch of dough to be able to get it marketed to, because we have found out if you don't get 125, 150 people to an ad and 20 or 30 people through the house, you're not going to get your 1 to 5 offers.
Yep.
Now, the realtors get away with it because they have this thing called the MLS, and it's just a big fat networking system, so they all can hope they put it in there and pray that they're going to find a buyer. They don't do anything more than that, which is the reason why most people don't like realtors, because they don't do much more than that. And really, technically, a realtor is hired to find a buyer, not negotiate, not do the paperwork. That's all attorney stuff. That's why the realtor system is kind of backwards, because I went through the realtor system school, and the only thing they teach you how to do is to fill out the purchase and sales contract, get the deposit, put the deposit in the right place, and that's it. They don't teach you how to negotiate. They don't even tell you how a standard closing goes. They don't even show you the steps or the process to get from point A to point B, which is backwards, because if you don't get the seller from where they are to the closing, they're not going to get paid.
Yep.
Right? So if they were to sell, so the first thing you're going to tell your seller is, look, it's going to cost you $30,000. So you're only going to net $170,000.
Mm-hmm.
So the $200,000 house is really only a $170,000 house now to them.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's the first number. If the seller decides to let us find a buyer for them that is willing to pay a little more on a monthly payment until paid off, we get paid from the buyer to do this. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We get paid from the buyer to do this. And the seller has no landlord obligations, because we're showing the seller how to be the bank, not a landlord.
Yep.
Let me give you an example. If you have a loan right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the toilet breaks, you're going to call your bank up and say, come fix the toilet?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Right? This is how we're going to leave your seller in this position, right?
Yep.
So this is value building with the seller, saving them tens of thousands of dollars, in this case $30,000 in closing costs, and then turning around and making $61,000 or more on the for-profit centers. Sounds like Warren Buffett should know about this, right?
Well, what do you think BlackRock and all those other guys are buying single-family homes for? You know, people think, oh, real estate guys, oh, they make money on real estate. You have no clue how it actually happens. It's not just buying and selling and saying, you know, with your little... It's all these little things you just mentioned that are maybe math and add addition, subtraction. But when you multiply them, now it becomes a big number.
And it's funny you just say that, because they said, oops, he does do this.
Yeah.
It's called BlackRock investing. Right?
Oh, God, was that a trick question? I do not have a script. Look, no hands, folks. I don't have a script, but you know, we understand these things.
You ready for this? They're the largest market, and they own $30 billion in real estate, which is about 1% of the United States real estate.
And a lot of it's single-family homes, isn't it?
It's all single family.
Oh, Jesus.
Back to our numbers. So on a $200,000 property, the seller benefits by, number one, the cash flow. And I have a calculator that does this, by the way.
Yeah.
Number one, the cash flow for the seller would be $14,940 over the course of 3 years, because now you're going to do a 3-year lease.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, the principal reduction would be $12,656 over 3 years.
As the mortgage gets paid down, yep.
The IRS reductions are going to be $4,586 over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And number four, you get $18,000 in appreciation, which adds up between the $30,000 worth of closing and these numbers I just gave you, adds up to savings and profit of selling the house for $280,182, which is 61% more than $170,000.
Oh, I see. I was trying to do the math from 200, but it really should be from the 170 to the 280, because he gets to 280. There'll be a little bit of closing costs, right? Tiny bit, because the buyer picks up, so a percent or two, something.
Yeah.
Well, it's negligible. I see. So from the 170. Now, you know what's funny to me too? If you also figured out that he doesn't get the whole 170, he might have a mortgage and he only gets some of the 170. He's getting a lot more. I mean, a lot more. He's not getting 170.
And the craziest part, as the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that they have, just stick around us and we'll show you the resources, right? With all the resources that you have to put the transaction together, would make about $20,000 on this deal.
For us.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're not going to sell it. We can sell up to 10% of what the property's worth.
Well, as the property
So
prices go up,
$200,000 house we could sell for 220.
yeah.
Which,
Well,
by the way, if we have a $400,000 house, it's 40 grand. Like to
As the
yourself.
prices go up, the slot deal when it's a tiny little house isn't a great deal for us necessarily. It's better than nothing. But the prices now, it's nothing to sneeze at.
Do you think the seller would feel stupid or foolish saying no to that offer?
Better him than us.
Now, people are going to say no.
Yeah.
But will you feel comfortable talking to your seller instead of begging now?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Instead of begging, saying, "Can you do a terms deal with me?" And they're telling you, "Oh, well, you just come to the table with money. What's the matter? You can't get a loan? Are you not equivalent or capable of going to get a loan? Oh, I don't want to deal with somebody like you." I've heard this stuff.
Sure, me too.
Now you're going to be the other way around because now you're acting like their financial advisor. You're showing them how they can take this asset that they already have in their name, and by making one decision, can completely change their lives. The best part is, and I'm going to rattle through these 10 because we're already at the hour. We're at an hour and 5 minutes. Okay, so here we go. You don't need a license to do this.
Nope.
You only need about $10 for investing. That's to get the option agreement that I told you about earlier. 3, if you have rented a place to live in or for someone else to live in the past, you know 90% of what you need to know. You just need somebody like Pete and I to come along and show you how to make money with it.
Yeah. You've done leases before. You're signing the other line now.
All you need to do is know how to make money with them. 4, you're helping the seller get 61% return on their investment. 5, helping a buyer who may not be qualified for a bank loan yet buy a house, which is about 80% of the buyers out there can't qualify for a mortgage. So there's an 80% pool that you're going to dip in and help those people get a house that normally couldn't get a house.
Yep.
Which brings me to 6, which means your buyer pool is huge and easy to find. So you don't get stuck with these deals. And even if you did the way we do it, by just signing an option agreement, you're going to give up $10 or $100, whatever you put down. You're not losing. You're not risking anything.
And you get a $1,000 education.
Right. Number 7, you don't deal with ugly houses and begging for discounts. You actually pay the seller's price, so there's no negotiating skills needed. Number 8, all your transactions are with pretty houses, so there's no contractors, there's no renovations, there's no bullshit. So now doing, what we call them? I just went blank.
Doing what?
Doing deals far away. I just went blank. Virtual deals. Doing virtual deals is much easier to do because all you're doing is looking for a buyer, getting some pictures, and looking for a seller. We do deals in Ohio. I live in Connecticut. Sean lives in Florida and spends most of his time with his girlfriend in Peru. And we're doing deals. It's amazing what he gets done. We're renovating a house right now. It's just incredible, right? Number 9, often you do these deals in a week or 2 and not usually more than 30 days. Right? So these profits, we have guys that on my coaching call or on our, because we have software, I just did a video with him. He's been in my system, in our system, for 7 months, and has done over $100,000 worth of these deals.
Wow, nice.
Right. So at the end of the day, that means that Hit National Bank, your pocket, just gets fatter and fatter. Okay, before we end off, I want you to know that I have developed a script and a calculator to explain all this stuff to your sellers and make offers they feel stupid saying no to or very foolish at any time. But there's a little bit more training you'll need to know before using these tools. So you need to make sure you understand the basics of creative real estate, and then I show you how to do all these numbers. Mm-hmm. So I did a private, what I call Webby, which is a webinar. I did a private Webby with my email list, right? Mm-hmm. In other words, we haven't advertised this. This is not public. This is the first time I've gone public outside of my group with this, right? So I did a private Webby with an email list to show them how we do it. All the numbers, I break them all down, and I show them to you visually on a screen, right? I show you the calculator. I show you all the script. I show you where to get all that stuff, everything, right? I put a link in the description of this podcast for you to go watch that Webby for free. Okay, now it's this podcast was an hour because this is what we do, but I think that that Webby is a couple hours because it's got training in it.
Yeah.
And it's for free. Okay? So, but beware, because it only has a 48-hour timer on it.
Oh.
For usage on it. Because it's something that people pay for in my group. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm giving it to you for free. You're welcome, Kenneth. He says, thank you. He said, this is wild. I'm putting this on repeat. And he said, thank you. And thank you, Kenneth. Okay, so beware, because it's only on a 48-hour window timeline. So make sure you go listen to it now or soon. At this recording, well, anyways, I was going to say we have a 3-day weekend coming, but that's not true. All right, so go there now and check it out. I have many, 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 many students that are crushing it making these offers. Which means if you follow along, you could do the same thing. So go click on the link and watch the webinar and get the information for yourself. Because I think if your head was spinning here, you might have to put a strap around it because you might lose your head because it's going to spin more when you get to the webinar. Okay? Because I did the webinar, and I do a lot of webinars. It's probably one of my highest feedback webinars.
Oh, really?
People sending support tickets in. Even my students, even my coaching students or my software students, that are using it and doing it even sent me in tickets and like, oh my God, you said things in there I didn't know. So just go check it out. It's very revealing. If anything, it will definitely give you an education on creative real estate and the ways that you could make a mass fortune doing it. Okay? So thank you for listening today. Thank you for sticking with me for an hour and 12 minutes. 12 minutes past my bedtime with you. Don't forget to subscribe to wherever you're listening to us or watching us. Kenneth, thank you for all the feedback today. It was very awesome to see somebody in there speaking to us. And I really appreciate that. And make sure that you click on the link in the description and go watch the webinar. Make sure you subscribe to our page, like us on wherever you're watching us. And if you need any help, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and hit the support ticket on the top right-hand side, and I will answer your questions. Okay? Over and out. We will talk to you on episode number 371. Flourish and prosper. Have a good week.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.